Hello guys, welcome to my Minecraft channel. No. What's up guys? Hello everyone. This is your boy GodCG. And this right here is going to be my first tutorial. And this time, maybe the only time, who knows, I'm gonna show you how I came up with this image. But maybe not came up, but how I got this result right here. As you know, this is the Berserker armor, right? For the transformation. And it's not going to be a step-by-step tutorial of how to make this image exactly. It's pretty much, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I did and pretty much like the workflow that I have with most of my images, right? So you're going to see me, what is it that I do with everything that I make pretty much. I'm not going to use all the softwares that I use when I make something new, for example, like a character. That when I make a new character, that's the time when I use all the softwares, like all of them, the ones that I have installed. I mean, the ones that I don't fucking know. You know, I'm just going to do like a few cuts here and there while I record this because I'm not doing this shit again, right? I'm just doing this in one go and whatever happens, happens, right? So before I begin, I would like to tell you that in the description of this video, because this is going to be uploaded to YouTube, I am going to give you the files, the the 3D model of the face, well, pretty much everything that you see in the image. Why? Because I would love to give them to you, I mean, to everyone that's interested in getting them, and I would like you to make an image about it, right, with them, right? You don't have to make like exactly the same angle, the same lighting, and whatever, from what I made, but I would like to see what you come up with, like your own version of it, right? You are free to do whatever you want with them. If you even want to animate them, though, just make them and send it to me, and I'll share them on my Instagram. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. It's not like a challenge or anything, and there's not a reward. I mean, if you want to do it, go ahead and please share it with me. I would love to see it. So, with all that said, let's begin. All right. So, before I open up Maya, which I have right here, I would like to show you the softwares that I use, right? The one that I utilize when I make my 3D images. So the main one is Maya. Maya is my favorite program. There is no image that I make that doesn't use Maya, and that goes almost all the time for ZBrush as well. These two softwares, I love them, and ZBrush is like the second software that I use the most, right? ZBrush is awesome, and Maya is the best. Right? I also use Substance Painter a lot. I love this program. It's so fun to use. I highly recommend that you learn it. What else? Nuke. In case you don't know what Nuke is compositing software, node-based. You will see how I use it, and this one is also one that I use for all my images. Obviously, you would, if you know what Nuke is, you would be like, well, if you have Photoshop, why the hell do you even use Nuke in the first place? You will see when we get to that part. I will tell you why. It's it's actually pretty funny, but whatever. Mari, Mari is I don't know how to say it, but is a texturing software, right? Similar to Substance Painter, but this is projection based, and it's also I believe it has also nodes to make it procedural, whatever, right? They have been adding stuff to it to make it similar to Substance Painter. It also has like materials and whatever. But this one, I use it for projecting the displacement maps for skin, pretty much. Sometimes I also paint color maps, but not that often. What else? Recent UV, and like the name says, I use it for making the UVs because I have some issues with Maya sometimes that the unfold plugin that it has sometimes it doesn't work for me. So I go to this software pretty much all the time to make the UVs. And what else? Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, don't pay attention to 3ds Max. I don't use this software only for some special occasions, but that doesn't matter here. And for 3D, that's it. And well, obviously Photoshop, right? And I use this at the end for making some adjustments sometimes, and to make my images black and white. I love making them black and white. So those are the softwares. Now let's jump right into Maya, in which I already have the scene opened up, right? So again, one last look to the final image. And this is what I see most of the time, right? You only see the final result, but this is what I see like 90% of the time while I'm working. So again, this is the model right here. Like I said, you will receive these files, everything that you see right here. This like ugly piece of cloth that is supposed to be his cape that I need to replace because this is ass. I need to make a new one. And the lighting for the eye is actually the what's it called, the iris, the 3D iris that I use for the eyes. Obviously, um, I just made it like I turned it into a light, and in anyways, so this is the scene, right? We have the chest, the arms, this piece. I don't know what to call it, the neck shield or whatever, and the skull, and the cover for the neck, and the back of the head, right? So what did I do? So once I made the model, which obviously let's start with the modeling. Let me open up the other scene in where I had the a little bit of progress how the armor look before I took it to ZBrush, right? So this is how we started. The skull started with the normal helmet, right? The dog one, the transformed one. Pretty much took it, and I started pretty much like moving polygons all over the place, right, to get it into shape. In the end, I pretty much like deleted like part of the front, right, to make the skull because it wasn't working. I had to change it a lot, and we got to this result. I did end up deleting the progress because the way I model is like this. For example, let me show you. So I take this, I have the base, right? I always start by duplicating it once, right? Hide the previous one. I work with this. I do a few changes, right? For example, that. And when I believe that I'm going to do some drastic change, instead of continuing, I duplicate it again. I hide the previous one, right? And I continue working, right? This time I delete this part. And the the reason I do this is because in case the program crashes, right? And I forgot to save the file, then I'm gonna lose a lot of progress. And that doesn't mean like by doing it like this, that won't happen. But it means that since I keep doing this all the time, if I do some changes to this part and then the program crashes and I only saved it when I had this version, then it's almost no big deal because I still have like physical history of my modeling. Then I hope that you understand what I'm saying because my English is kind of shit and the pronunciation is worse. So I do hope that you understand why I do that. I hope I explained myself. And you can see, right, Skull Helmet version 65 and then 67, and I keep doing the same thing, right? Always a few changes to the next one, right? You can see some of the progress, right? Whatever. This was the last version, I believe, the one I took to ZBrush, right? Close up, you can see some of the details that I did, right? It's like lines, the bevels, whatever. And it looks quite different from the final result because I did a few changes that were needed inside ZBrush, which is where I do like half of the work. Because if I see, if I smooth the object, you will see that this part is smooth at the top, where it shouldn't be, right? That's pretty much how I model, right? And this piece, well, is actually this piece right here. This turned into this. Pretty much I just like took like this teeth right here and I just flattened them, right? I mean, I didn't select all of them. It's gonna look horrible. I pretty much flattened the whole thing, like this whole part, move stuff around, blah blah blah, and we got to this. So this was made on purpose because I already had in mind doing the animation. So I used the same mesh, right? Like the lower jaw of the helmet, the Berserker Armor transform, so that I could turn it from this to this and vice versa for the animation. Here, let me show you real quick. Transformation. This is the animation that I'm working on right now. And you already noticed, but I would like to apologize for changing the subject all the time. That's how I am, right? It's not like, right, as you can see, it goes from flat, right, the piece that I showed you a moment ago, to exactly as the one for the dog transformation, because it is the same mesh, the same vertex order, everything, the same UVs, all of it. So the transformation is very smooth, right? And it just works, right? All right, let's jump into ZBrush. No, not that idiot. ZBrush, no. Oh, what's that on my face? Well, ZBrush and Skull Helmet version 6. As you can see, as the same with my modeling, I do the same with ZBrush files. That's how I like to work. I got used to it a long time ago. Right. So let me just turn on perspective. So here we have just, well, here it is with the piece. As you can see, this part is already creased. Is was the word, like strong, not hard edges, right? Just exactly what I wanted. And in here, as you can see, I changed the shape of the. Let me go back to the previous one of when I finished modeling with Maya. If you look at the shape of the eyes, it's pretty much like The curves are like nice. I don't know how to say it. There's not like hard edges. It's pretty smooth, right? And here I changed this head to make it a little bit more like angry looking, which is the how it should be. And I increase these edges. This one right here, the ones at the top, of course, and well, the rest of the armor. Now, don't pay attention to the way the body is. I will change it later because it was intersecting with the armor. It doesn't matter. But yeah, this is pretty much the whole armor, right? So from here, I just take like a pretty high subdivision version of it. So I know this is not a modeling tutorial. It's mostly showing you what I do after the modeling, the texturing, the lighting, the rendering, all of that, right? But this is how the model looks. These are the files that you're going to receive, right? So let's go to the next step. All right, so that was a little bit, almost nothing of the modeling, but let's jump to the fun stuff. Right now, we're going to take a look a little bit of texturing, okay? So once you have your models, right, ready, and they have UVs, right, like this one does, I don't know why I close it. This bit, well, I'm gonna select them all, right? I exported them as one piece because they are separated into different quadrants of the UVs, right? Meaning that this piece right here, right, which is the front, and this piece right here is obviously the same skull, but the part from the inside, as you can see, they are closed in these little squares, meaning that this part is going to be one texture file, right? The second texture file, the third one, and fourth one, right? And I'm going to export them at pretty high resolution because I love the details, right? And obviously, I say it as simple as that because I don't know how to explain it very well, right? And I hope that if you know, I hope that you correct me in the comments for my bad explanations. Well, like helping me, right? So I export those objects, and I go to Substance Painter, right? So I already have the file open, and as you can see, it's already textured, and they begin like this, right? Oh, it has some post effects on. We'll just turn that off. So this is how you receive your object, right? With no color, pretty much, just like a white material all over it, right? So you bake your textures and you add your material. And the way it works, just a little bit to show you why Substance Painter is awesome, right? So you bring your model, and as you can see, you have a big library of materials already created here inside the software, right? And for example, you can take this one, and again, you can use whatever you want, and you drop it to your layers, and it's going to apply that material to the whole object, right? And if you wanted to make it gold, then it is done. It is gold, right? And then you can tweak the lighting to see how it reacts. And it has its own renderer called iRay, which is it's pretty good, right? So those are the materials, and you have brushes, filters, textures, blah blah blah. But then here comes the good ones, the smart materials. And the materials is just like one layer, so to speak. Smart materials are more complex, are like a stack of layers of a lot going around to make a complex material. Sorry. For example, this one, brass old. As you can see in the preview, it has some like dirt here and there, and when the geometry is really close, it's occluded and it's gonna get dark. You'll see. I'm just gonna drop it, let it load, and you'll see the result. It's gonna look much better than the one I used previously. There you go. As you can see, not only it made the object a metal, like in this case brass, but as you can see, it changed the edges, right? He added some edge wear to it. It looks way more interesting, like dirt, right? And the parts that are occluded, they're really close to each other, right? It added dirt all over it. It changed the roughness, so it's not super reflective, blah, 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 right? And obviously you can save them, right? If you make your own complex like material, you can just create a group like this one has, and you create your own smart material, right? And it's safe right here. As you can see, I already have a few of my own. Berserker armor, Berserker armor chest, Berserker leather, blood dragon slayer, blood guts, whatever, right? I believe I also have the phantom material that I use for, well, phantom, right? Here, phantom metal 1, whatever. So I'm just gonna turn the previous one on, which is the final material that I used. This material that's right here is the one that you see right here, right? The final render. Right, so this is the material. You can get really close to look at the detail, the scratches, the how the metal looks. Right, you can see all of the detail. You can see how the roughness. It has like this texture on top of like dirty, and you might think, well, yeah, that's pretty cool, but it doesn't look like that great in here. Well, like I said, they are the same textures that you see in here for the other pieces, which is, where is this one, the brazos, which is the chest and the arms, right? You can see, same material. I just grabbed the one I saved, and the smart materials, this one, Berserker Armor Chest, and I'm gonna delete it, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna drop it, let the software do its magic, apply it to your objects, and there you go. Obviously, I ended up doing some tweaks, maybe, but there you go. Right? This is another part finished on the texture department, right? And when you're happy, you just export them at the resolution you want, whatever, right? And you have your files. I have them saved right here. So I have what is skull helmet. So these are the textures, right? Base color. Like I told you, the UVs, the UV maps were divided in 4 pieces. So as you can see, skull full helmet, right? 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, right? And this is the texture. You can actually see the shape of the skull. This is the color texture, right? And you have the height. This is like the displacement. You cannot see it much here, but this texture is very important because this map right here, it gives you all this detail on the model, you know, all these lines, all this like edge where everything, the what's it called, the scratches, all of it. This texture is responsible for that, right? So it's pretty awesome. So the metallic, we controls what parts are metal, which parts are not, the roughness, and blah blah blah, right? So that's pretty much a quick show of the texturing, which is obviously I may show it like it's really simple, and I always keep like things simple, like me making this material. I just took like, I believe it was this one, Brass Old, and I just changed the color to black, and then I added the little detail of the lines, the scratches, and that was it, right? I don't do very complex stuff because, well, I'm not that good at the software, right? I just do what I can, and as long as I like it, I keep it. All right, so I just showed you a little bit of the texturing. So what's next? Next is my favorite part. Now we go to the rendering, right? Which is trying to make the final image because we have our model and we have our textures, right? So now I get to make the lighting, set up the camera, all of that. And the final step is the compositing, right? The post production. Okay, so when it comes to the lighting, sometimes I look for reference. Obviously, references is always good. And for reference, I use this software called PureRef. It's not like a like a software to search for reference, but it's pretty much a software so that you can keep your reference image on your screen, right? And you can make it like always on top, so it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? It doesn't go away. It always stays right there, and you can set it on place. So for the rendering, so I just imagine, all right, so what's going on in the manga when this shows up, when the armor shows up, right? So we have gods right here in the armor, and as we know, and we have seen in my case in the anime, right? So he is on top of the apostle that he just killed, right? That was trying to eat him, right? Then the other apostle that was in the tree that's burning jumped up and tried to eat him as well, and God's like cuts him in half, right? And we get this shot right here, which is the reference for my whole image. So what's around him? Okay, so from the manga and from the anime, from behind him the tree is burning, right? So there's a lot of fire. In front of him, well, there's the sun hitting him on the face. And instead of making it super realistic, like putting gods inside the armor as it should be, but obviously Miura didn't draw like the eyes or anything, just left it like dark. He didn't paint it. Even down here, you don't see anything, right? And so I kept it that way. So I removed gods from the inside and I left it completely dark, right? As you can see, you cannot see anything inside, right? And from the nose, well, there is some stuff there that I didn't remove, but who cares? Um, so again, now we know that there's fire behind him. It's sunny outside, so it's hitting him on the face. And well, he's standing on the body of the apostle, and the ground is grass and whatever, right? So let's just focus on the fire behind him and the sun hitting him on the face. So that's pretty much the idea for the lighting, right? So that's what I'm going to make. Right. So my setup for the lights, as you can see, I have like a huge mess here in the outliner, which is like a list of everything that's on the scene. Right. Here we have another view of the armor, right, of our objects. And these squares, these red squares right here are the lights, right? I didn't name them, but this right here in the back are the fire. I believe this one is a light that's acting as the sun. This one as well. And yeah, I think the only two fire ones are these two, which are huge lights hitting him from the back, right? So let's just show you how it looks rendering. so that I can turn off the lights and see how it affects our character. So I'm gonna start rendering and just let it load. All right, so the image is already starting to refine, right? And this is the result pretty much inside of Maya, right? So we have the lights from behind him, hitting him, the fire. We have this light on top that I just showed you a moment ago, and the ones on the front, right? Hitting him on the chest, on the face, whatever, just to show the shape of the skull, right? And obviously this part of the eye, which I'm going to remove just for doesn't bother me. What the fuck? What? It's like I believe I have to update the render so it disappears, but it doesn't matter. All right. So we have this, and I can tweak the lights so you see what they do. For example, I'm gonna hide these lights, right? So there's no light hitting them on the face, so it's completely dark. You cannot see anything. Even if I increase the exposure, I believe maybe you start seeing a little bit, but whatever. And the one from the top, I just hide it, and we just have the fire from the back, right? So it's pretty awesome to see like a preview of the lighting in almost real time. And obviously, you can do whatever you want. You can rotate them, right? Move them. See how it affects your object, right? So I just put these lights in place, right? And let's look at some of the settings for the lights, right? So the use of color temperature, right? I knew this would happen. Sometimes they don't want to work, right? Because it doesn't change the color. It should change it. You can see we have a preview of the color, right? But it doesn't matter. The temperature works in like Kelvin. Mm. Instead of just choosing the color right, it's much easier to change the temperature right here to get this like strong orange, the same as the fire, right? And you can increase the exposure to make it brighter, right? You can increase how like soft the light is, or you want to make it more sharp, right? And then you can make it cast. You can make it volumetric as well. You can do a lot of stuff with the light. Obviously, in this tutorial, like I said, it's not going to be like a step by step of how to achieve my result. I'm just showing you what I do because, like I said, you're gonna get the files, and if you want to try to make an image, then I mean, if you want to imitate exactly what I made, then please do, right? And show it to me. But I would like to see your creativity, right? I want to see what you can come up with. So yeah, I just set up the lights, right? I'm gonna turn them one by one. How they affect. Like this light is the same one as I believe is this one, right? So equal lighting from both sides, and the one at the top, right? Illuminates this side and the neck shield and whatever, and we get this, right? So this is the result. Now that is the lighting, and I will show you the material setup. I mean, I don't have to show it. I don't need to show it. If you're seeing, you probably know how to set up a material with the textures that you will have to make because I won't give you the textures. I want you to make your own, right? So that's the lighting. As you can see, it looks like really simple because it is already set up. Like I said, I mean, I just took this light, put it in place, duplicated it, changed some settings so that it would look like it was mirrored, right? The same with this one. And well, I created two more and put it in place. Obviously, just seeing how they affect the result in the end, right? I just move them around. And I'm like, all right, I like this spot. I'm gonna keep that and just make a new light to add some more to remove some of the darkness of the model. All right, so that's pretty much some of the lighting. Oh, what the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, let me show you a little bit of the camera, right? So obviously you set up your camera. In my case, this is the one. It has a resolution of 1920 by 1600, right? Pretty much like a square, kind of. And I just set the focal, focal length to 90, right? Like pretty, like a fucking telescope. And I enable depth of field because as you can see in the final result, this is getting a little bit blurry and in the back as well. So the focus is the skull. It's not like, uh, it's pretty much like an artistic decision, so to speak. It's because I love the effect. I believe the depth of field makes the adds a little bit of photorealism to your work. I don't use it like all the time, but I do love the effect, so I try to use it almost always with all my work. It has that little touch of realism, which is what I'm after, obviously. So again, the render is almost done, right? I always export them in EXRs. The file, right? It's finished. I mean, it's not the same resolution. I cut it by half, but it would show the image faster. But that's pretty much it, right? Got the lighting alright. The lighting is ready. Obviously, I put some things around, but this is how it looks once the render is out and export. Where is it? I believe it's this one. Nope. This one. Nope. This one. Nope. Oh my god, what the fuck is it? Alright, this one. Right. And well, it doesn't look exactly like this one, right? Because I utilize, and this is a big kind of like secret slash tip for improving your work, is when it comes to color management, I use ACEs. I utilize ACEs. And I'm not going to even try to explain it because I have no idea of how to explain it. You just look for it, download it from their page. Well, I believe, and then just fucking show you how I have it set up. And it's really easy, right? You just download the OSIO config, right? And it's enable color management, use OSIO configuration. This is where I have it saved. ACES 1.2 version is the one that I'm using. And when it comes to the rendering space, I use ACES CG and the view transform sRGB ACES. This right here is, wow, I mean, when I started using this, it gave all my images a huge jump in realism. Just search for it and start using it. I mean, If you don't use Maya, it doesn't matter. You can use it in any other software. It's amazing. It's, it's going to improve your work by a lot. So um, I apologize for not being able to explain it to you. What is it? But I'm just gonna say something that would be like incorrect, but you can understand. It's pretty much like some amazing color correction to your images that is gonna take them to the next level. Believe me, it was very simple. You just created a few lights, Arnold lights, by the way. The renderer that I use is called Arnold renderer, right? It's very simple to use, but it is super photorealistic if you want it to go there, right? I mean, by default, it is photorealism from the start, right? So I just go create a few lights on area lights. I just put them in place. I before that I set up the material with the textures that I showed you a moment ago. And well, yeah, this is the result from Maya. And from here we go to Nuke to post-production because uh, our work inside the 3D software is done. All right, so we're finally at Nuke. Now we are the part of post-production compositing, right? Which is almost the final step. And as you can see, I have right here, I'll render straight up from Maya, right? So how does Nuke work? So pretty much the pipeline that I have is already set up, obviously, right? Here the viewer it's pretty much as it says. Whatever it is connected to the viewer is what's going to be displayed here on the left, right? So I'm pretty much taking the first node, which is our image, right? And is the only thing that we're seeing, right? Which is the render from Maya, from our node renderer, right? Okay, so first, like I told you before, the color correction system that I use, I don't know if you could call it a system, but it's the best explanation that I can give you, which it was ACES, right? It is set up here in Nuke as well. That's why the render here looks exactly as the one from Maya, right? Looks almost the same, right? No, it should be the same. So this is okay. So first, after I have the render right here, I see that it is a little bit too dark, right? I want more light on it. So I have this node, which the name it says is exposure, right? And I just connect the viewer to it, right? And you can see is, well, I just increase the exposure a little bit to make it a little bit more brighter, and you can control how much or to reduce it, whatever, right? So I just left it at 0.1. Now, the next node, you will see that once activated, it does like this sharpness effect, right, on the whole image. It brings up all the details and make them pop. This node, I found it a long time ago, and I looked for it like crazy, not for this node specifically, but because of this right here, the clarity operation, right? This is normal sharpen, and high pass is the one that I want. It does more things than your normal sharpen. I mean, it changes your image by a lot. And if I remember correctly, it was something that I saw. I mean, this parameter right here, I believe I saw it in Lightroom or Photoshop. I really like what it did to the images, and I just searched for something similar for Nuke. I found this Look Depth Grade Mode by Acer Aparicio. So if you wanted, you look for this, and you will get it in case you want it, right? So I just use it for this high pass, right? Just like this, like sharpen effect to the whole image, and it makes like the bright spots pop even more, right? It does a lot of stuff, and I really like what it does, right? It's not like I can explain it as well because, like I said, I'm bad at explaining things. So in the final result, we can see that there is this fire in the background, right? So where does that fire come from? If there's nothing right here, it's all black. So what I did, I just went and looked for an image of fire, right? I don't know what the fuck is burning right here, but I really like how the fire looked. So I just downloaded the image, brought it to Nuke, right? I because it is quite high in resolution, like 4,000 by 6,000. So I have to reformat the image to bring it to the same size as the render, 1620 by 1600. I do some transformation, which I increase the scale so that you see more of the fire in the window and our canvas. And I just moved it into place, right? I do some color correction to it, make it more brighter. And this node right here, which is a node that is not part of Nuke, you will have to find it. I believe you can find it in Nukepedia, I believe is the name of the page. I mean, it's a page for gizmos of specifically for Nuke that you can bring here with a lot of cool stuff. So what it does pretty much, like, well, like I said, the bokeh blur just blurs the image, right? Because obviously this right here is going to be the focus, and I just want to add the fire behind it, right? So we have our merge node right here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It just merges the both images, right? We have channel B, which B is for background, and A, I believe, is for A top, if I remember correctly. I don't know, it's weird. Maybe it says it right here. Yeah. Well, A top, yeah. Right? So now they're just merged. So everything that was done up here and everything that was done right here are merged, right? And the reason of why I don't go to Photoshop to do all these things that I mean, I imagine you can do them the same, right? Inside Photoshop, is because I love the node system because it is non-destructive. And I got used to it because it's funny, but I started learning Nuke before I started learning Photoshop. So back then, I did a lot of the stuff that I do in Photoshop now. I used to do it right here because Photoshop was still strange to me. And it's not like I'm a Photoshop master right now because I'm not. I know only the basic stuff. But since I used Nuke before I started using Photoshop, well, I got used to it. Well, I got used to using it all the time, and I already have my workflow set up, which is right here is the glow, right? Then I add a little bit of blur, some color correction maybe, and at the end I always add some like noise, some grain to the images. And if you see all my images, you will see in all of them that I always add grain to them. I mean, I don't know if it's possible right here, but yeah, I mean, and you can see here at the glow, you can see all this noise on it. That was not part of the render for my. I always add it in compositing post production. Always. I just love the effect, and I believe it adds a little bit of maybe not photorealism, but it's like those defects that real cameras have that it act because we all know what cameras add to our photos. It adds that little touch of photorealism to make it look like it was actually like a real picture someone took, so to speak. I hope you kind of get what I'm trying to say, right? So we have the merge right here, so it's pretty cool. Now the next thing I do is add the glow, right? So we jump here to this node, so nothing happened. But if we go to the alpha channel, you will see that it looks a little bit different from what it looked before, right? So what this does is, on the alpha channel, we can control how much we select from the image when it comes to the luminance. Like, I'm just trying to get the brightest spots of the image to get the glow to, what's the word? Spawn? Maybe not spawn, but to be produced from, whatever, right? And then I add a pre-mold operation after that, so that we select those parts that we had out here, right? And then I add this node, which is called TX Bloom. This node, you can find it as well in nukepedia.com. I believe that's the name of the page. Just look for it. And there's also another one, I believe it's called Exponential Glow or Expo Glow, which is the type of glow, right? Exponential, that's the best looking one. So we jump to this, and that's the glow that I really like. And obviously you can control how much, right? How much is it that you want, how bright it is, blah, 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 right? So this is the result that I really like. So you take the glow here, and we're gonna combine it to what we had before, right? We're gonna merge them, this time with a plus operation, okay? So I do that, and now they're merged. And if I disable the layer, you can see the huge change that it gives to the image. And I'm a, I'm a huge fan of glow. All my images, all of them have glow, always. I always add the glow. It doesn't matter if it's just a tiny bit, they always have glow. I love the effect. And to me, it adds that little touch of realism that we keep adding and adding, and that increases the realism that I always strive for in my work, right? So this is what you wanted to see. Well, this is what you need to do, right? The glow is on top, right? Pretty nice. Now it looks like real fire, right? It's really hot. So now it's looking real nice. It's almost the exact same result as the final one, right? We're almost there. It obviously won't look the same because I don't remember the position that the fire had behind it. And as you can see, since it's non-destructive, you can move stuff from all the way back on the pipeline, right? And it will update the whole way. It doesn't matter. This is why I like Nuke so much. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Doesn't fucking matter. So I always add a tiny bit of blur. It's not much. I believe it's 0.5. Well, I usually do 0.9, but sometimes I believe it's too much. And it's just a little tiny change that you might not notice. But again, I believe that it adds a little bit more realism. That's why I always add it. Right? Obviously, you will have to do your own test, your own experimentation, if you want the photorealism style, so to speak, that I love so much. So I believe, well, this is another color correction note that you can find again in Nukepedia. If you want to search for it, it has a lot of stuff. I usually do this one because it has the big net. I don't know how to say it. I'm just gonna show you the word. This being net. I don't know how to say it. I'm not even gonna try again. Right? And it just has the effect on top, but I didn't like how it looked in this, so I just left it disabled. And we're almost at the end, right? The grain. The grain on top of everything, right? Really clean, and then I just add the grain on top. And now it makes it look like a photo that someone took, right? I always add it, always, right? And finally, we have the write node, which is the node that you use to export your image, right? So I'm just gonna go to Berserker Armor, renders, and I'm just gonna call it Berserker underscore skull. Fuck, but I'm gonna save it as a PNG. So click enter, you let it update. Now we have the file type PNG. We put it on 16-bit. We're gonna click render, input, use one frame obviously, and you let it do its work, calculations. And we should have right here our Berserker skull fuck export. And we can compare it to the original one. And obviously the only thing that changes pretty much is the position of the file in the background, right? But it's the exact same thing. Now, you remember at first I told you that sometimes the last step is inside Photoshop, right? So, and before Photoshop, Nuke is the software that I use. And there are times that because of the exposure or something else, by increasing it, there are some parts that I would like to be darker instead of bright after the exposure. So I render this version and then I render another version that's dark and I go to Photoshop and I just, paint on it with a mask to show some parts of the darker one on top of the bright one or something like that. Or sometimes I go to the, change the eyes to add some light to them. For example, let me show you an old one of Griffith that the one where he looked like Lady Gaga. Where is it? Well, maybe not the. How about this one? No, no, the Lady Gaga one. Where the fuck is that? Probably like one of this version 23. Maybe this one. Yeah. So let me open up Photoshop real quick, real fucking quick, right? And it's probably somewhere around here. Where is it? That fucking damn it. Oh, there you go. Right. So we have this layer, and I just take this and I grab the dodge tool, right? And this is almost everything that I do in Photoshop, right? I just make parts of the eye brighter, and then I took the burn tool and make like the other side a little bit darker, something like that, and it gives that pop to the eyes that I really like. And that's pretty much all that I do inside Photoshop. Maybe not all. I mean, sometimes I just create like a new layer and I just come and erase some stuff that I don't like, you know, like this part of the shoulder, so it's not visible, or you or just I just hide some stuff like darken it. That's all I do in Photoshop. I don't do anything else. Most of the work is done inside the 3D software and in Duke. Photoshop is just little tiny details that I may or may not add. And that's it, guys. That is the pipeline of my images. Now you know some of my tips and tricks, kind of. Listen, you don't have to tell me that this tutorial was fucking trash. I already know. I knew since the second I hit it record in OBS, right? I fucking know. You, you don't have to tell me. But with all with that said, I hope that you liked it. I hope that you learned something. You know, uh, maybe at one point in the future, I'll record myself working on a new character from start to finish, so that you can see all the steps. It won't be like it won't have like commentary, right? But just you will be able to see everything that I do to make an image. So I hope that again, I hope that you liked it. I hope that you didn't hate it as much, right? And again, one more time, in the description you can download the 3D model, and if you decide to get them and make an image or a video animation about it, please send it to my well, I will leave an email address in the description as well, so that you send it to me there, not through Instagram. Don't send it to me through Instagram. If you send it to me, send it to the email that I will give you, so that you give me the original file. I mean the image, and I don't have to get it from Instagram. That whatever. Thank you all. Um, bye.